The planet Varkan was once bright and strong, but now it was slowly fading. The skies still shone with two suns, and the mountains were still tall and silver, yet the people of Varkan lived in fear. Their entire race was tied to one being their queen. Without her, no future would exist. The queen's name was Nira. She was young, with a tall figure and eyes that glowed softly in the dark. She carried the weight of her world on her shoulders. Her people depended on her, and every day the alien council reminded her of her duty. But there was a problem that no one could ignore: Nira had no mate. On Varkan, the queen needed a partner to continue the line. Without one, the race would slowly die, and with it, the great history of the Varkan people. Nira tried to stay calm and strong in front of her people, but deep inside she felt the heavy chains of despair. Time was running out. The council sat in tall halls made of crystal stone. The elders spoke with heavy voices, pressing Nira again and again. "You must choose soon," one said. "Our future cannot wait," said another. Nira listened, but her heart was unsettled. She had seen many possible mates from her own people. They were strong in body and mind, but something was missing. They were cold, prideful, and selfish. None of them could truly stand by her side. She wanted a partner, not just a duty. While Varkan's queen worried about her fate, far away, a small human ship traveled across the stars. Inside was a lone explorer named Tom. He was not a soldier or a king. He was a traveler, filled with curiosity. Tom dreamed of finding new worlds, learning about strange skies, and writing about the wonders he discovered. His ship was small, patched together with tools and old machines, but it carried his hope. One day, while checking his scanners, Tom noticed something unusual. A strong energy wave appeared in space, something not made by nature. His heart jumped with excitement. "Maybe it's a new world," he whispered to himself. He changed course and followed the signal. Hours later, his ship passed through clouds of blue gas and broke into the orbit of a shining planet. From above, Varkan looked beautiful: green plains, silver rivers, and mountains that caught the light of two suns. Tom's eyes widened. This is it. A living world. He landed carefully in a wide field near a city of tall crystal towers. As soon as his ship touched the ground, alarms rang across the alien capital. Guards with silver armor appeared, moving quickly toward the strange craft. Inside, Tom felt the ship shake. He stood up, his heart beating fast. "First contact," he said nervously. "Let's hope they're friendly." The guards surrounded the ship and spoke in sharp voices. Tom did not understand their language, but he raised his hand slowly to show peace. His translator device tried to catch their words, and after a few seconds, broken phrases came through. "Come with us," one guard ordered. Tom nodded. He was led through the shining streets, surrounded by tall aliens whose skin glimmered faintly under the suns. The people stared at him, whispering to each other. None of them had seen a human before. At last, Tom was brought into the Queen's hall. The great doors opened, and there she stood, Queen Nira, sitting on a throne carved from crystal, her glowing eyes watching him with deep curiosity. Tom froze. He had expected something alien, maybe even frightening, but what he saw instead was grace and strength. She looked powerful yet burdened, like a leader carrying a heavy weight. The hall was silent. Then Nira spoke, her voice calm but filled with command. The translator worked slowly, but the meaning came through. "You are not of Varkan. Who are you, and why have you come?" Tom took a breath. "My name is Tom. I am a traveler. I come from a faraway world called Earth. I mean no harm. I only seek knowledge." The council members murmured with suspicion. But Nira raised her hand, silencing them. Her eyes stayed fixed on Tom. Unlike others, he did not bow or tremble. He looked at her with respect, not fear. That was something she had not seen in a long time. For a moment, Queen and human studied each other across the hall. Nira wondered why fate had brought this small, fragile-looking being to her world at such a desperate time. And Tom, standing before a queen of another race, felt the first spark of something he could not yet name, an unseen connection that would soon change not just their lives, but the destiny of two worlds. The Great Hall of Varkan was quiet after Tom's words. The council members shifted uneasily, whispering among themselves. To them, this human was nothing more than an outsider, weak and unfit to stand before their queen. But Queen Nira did not look away from him. She leaned forward on her throne, her glowing eyes steady. "You come from Earth," she said slowly through the translator. "A world I have never heard of. Tell me, Tom, why do you travel alone across the stars?" Tom's voice was calm though his heart beat fast. "I travel to learn. To understand. My people explore the skies, searching for knowledge and new friends. I did not know this place existed, but now that I have found it, I wish to know it better." The council elder, a tall alien with sharp features, slammed his staff against the floor. "This creature is dangerous. He should be sent away before he spreads lies." Tom glanced at the elder but kept his eyes on Nira. He could see she was different. There was strength in her, but also something he recognized: loneliness. She looked like someone carrying a weight that no one else could help with. Nira raised her hand, silencing the elder. "He is no danger. His eyes do not lie. Let me speak with him." The guards hesitated but stepped back. Tom felt a strange sense of relief. For the first time, he realized that the queen herself wanted to hear him. She rose from her throne and walked closer, her presence filling the hall. The soft light from the crystal walls reflected against her silver-like skin, making her look almost like a being of light. Tom stood still, unsure if he should bow or speak. Nira studied him carefully. "You are small compared to my people," she said. "And yet you stand without fear. Why?" Tom gave a small smile. "Because fear closes doors. Curiosity opens them. I choose to open doors." Nira tilted her head slightly. His answer was simple, but it carried a truth she could not ignore. Most of her own kind obeyed out of fear or duty. But this human spoke freely, without the weight of tradition. The council did not like the way the queen was listening. Another elder stepped forward. "My queen, he cannot be trusted. Humans are unknown. His weakness will shame us if he stays." This time Tom did not stay quiet. He turned to the elder. "Weakness is not measured only by size or strength. Sometimes strength is found in the mind, in the heart, in the will to keep trying." His words surprised many in the hall. Some of the younger guards whispered, curious about this strange human's courage. Nira's eyes softened for a moment. "You speak boldly," she said. "Perhaps too boldly." Tom lowered his voice. "Maybe. But if I came all this way across the stars only to stay silent, then my journey would mean nothing." The hall was filled with silence again. Nira finally gave a small nod. "You will not be sent away. You will stay as my guest, under guard. I wish to know more of you." The elders were displeased, but none dared argue against the queen's command. Tom was led to a chamber inside the palace. It was high above the city, with wide windows showing the silver rivers and twin suns. That night, Tom could not sleep. He thought of the queen's eyes, the sadness behind her strength, and the way she had chosen to protect him from her counsel. He felt that something important had just begun, though he could not explain it. The next day, Nira called for him again. This time, she met him in a garden filled with glowing flowers and tall glass trees. The air shimmered with soft colors, and strange birds sang in the branches. Nira walked beside him slowly. "Your world, Earth," she said. "Tell me of it." Tom spoke of oceans and forests, of humans who built cities but also dreamed of stars. He told her of laughter, music, and the will to survive even in hardship. Nero listened closely, her expression calm but thoughtful. "Your people sound alive," she said. "Not only in body, but in spirit." Tom looked at her. "Is it not the same here?" Nero stopped walking. For a long moment, she was silent. Then she said, "My people survive because of me. Without me, there is no future. But I cannot choose wrongly. If I fail, all of Varkan ends." Tom felt the weight in her words. He realized that she was more than a ruler, she was the hope of an entire world. Yet even with such power, she was trapped by her duty. "I don't know if I can help," Tom said gently. "But I will listen, if you want me to." For the first time, a faint smile touched Neera's lips. "Strange human," she said softly. "You speak as if you see me not as a queen, but as a person." "Because that's what you are," Tom replied simply. The garden grew quiet around them. In that moment, something unspoken passed between queen and human, a connection neither expected, but one that would grow stronger in the days to come. The council hall was filled with heavy voices. Elders gathered in a circle of shining crystal seats, their expressions sharp and serious. Queen Neera stood at the center, her calm face hiding the storm inside her. Behind her, Tom waited silently, unsure why he had been brought here again. The elder with the staff spoke first. "The time has come. The cycle is almost complete. Our queen must choose a mate before the next moons align. If she does not, Varkan will fade." Murmurs spread through the hall. Every citizen knew this truth. The survival of their kind depended on the queen's choice. Yet no decision had been made. Another elder rose. His eyes were stern as he looked at Tom. "And now we have this outsider. A creature from another world. Some whisper his courage is unusual. But how can a fragile being stand as mate to our queen? It is unthinkable." Neera raised her hand, silencing the noise. Her voice was steady. "I have met many of our own who wish to claim me as mate. They are strong in body but weak in heart. None of them see beyond themselves. None of them can lead with me." The council shifted uncomfortably. One elder spoke with anger. "You cannot be serious, my queen. You speak as if this human is worth considering." Tom's eyes widened. He had not expected to be mentioned. He stepped forward carefully. "I do not seek to take what is not mine. I am only a traveler. But I will not stand silent while you call me worthless." Gasps filled the hall. No one ever spoke to the council in such a way. Yet Tom's voice did not tremble. He looked directly at them, then at Neera. The elder with the staff narrowed his eyes. "If this human wishes to speak, then let him prove his words. Let him face the trials." The chamber grew still. The trials were ancient tests, difficult, dangerous, and meant to measure not only strength, but wisdom and spirit. Few even among the strongest Varkan warriors had passed them. Tom did not know what the trials were, but he could feel the weight of the moment. All eyes were on him. "What are these trials?" he asked. Nero looked at him with quiet worry. "They are tests created long ago. To prove worth, a mate must face them. Many who try, fail. Some never return." The elders smiled coldly, certain this human would break. Tom took a breath. His hands trembled, but his voice stayed firm. "Then I will face them." Neera turned quickly. "You do not have to. You are not bound to our laws." Tom met her gaze. "Maybe not. But if I walk away now, then your people will only see me as weak. If I am to stay, if I am to stand beside you even as a friend, I cannot run from this." For a moment, Neera said nothing. Then she gave a small nod. Her eyes, though calm, carried a flicker of something else, hope. The elders declared the decision final. Tom would face the trials in 3 days. When the day came, the first trial was held in the wild forest outside the city. The forest was alive with strange creatures, glowing plants, and dangerous hunters. The task was simple: survive until the twin suns set. Tom entered with no weapon but a simple staff given by the guards. The forest air was heavy, filled with distant growls. His heart pounded, but he remembered his training on Earth: observe first, act second. He climbed a tree to get a better view. From above, he saw large beasts moving in packs, their eyes glowing yellow. If he stayed on the ground, he would be hunted. He decided to move through the trees, using balance and quick thinking instead of brute strength. Hours passed. Beasts surged, but Tom kept ahead of them, leaving marks on trees to track his path. When one creature leapt at him, he used the staff not for attack but to distract it, pushing it into a pit of vines. From hidden platforms above, the council watched. They expected him to fight with rage, but instead he used cleverness, patience, and observation. By the time the suns dipped below the horizon, Tom stood alive at the edge of the forest, scratched and tired, but unbroken. The second trial came the next day. It was held in the Temple of Echoes, a place filled with riddles and shifting walls. The task: unlock the Chamber of Light by solving the code left by their ancestors. Alien warriors had failed this trial for centuries, relying on force instead of thought. But Tom studied the patterns on the walls carefully. He noticed the shapes matched the stars he had seen from orbit. Piece by piece, he aligned the symbols like a map of the heavens. The walls shifted, opening the chamber. The council stared in silence. A human had done what their strongest could not. That evening, Nira met him in the palace garden once more. She looked at his bruises and tired eyes. "You survived the forest. You solved the temple. My people cannot ignore what you have done," she said softly. Tom smiled faintly. "I didn't do it to prove I'm the strongest. I did it because you needed someone to try." Her gaze lingered on him. For the first time in her life, Nira felt something strange and new. It was not duty, not tradition, it was trust. But the trials were not finished. The hardest test still waited, and both Nira and Tom knew the council would not let it end easily. The city of Varkan buzzed with whispers. The human had survived the forest. He had solved the ancient temple. Many began to speak of him not as a weak outsider, but as someone different, someone worth watching. Yet the council was far from pleased. In the high chamber, the elders gathered again. Their faces were dark with frustration. "The people are beginning to respect him," one said bitterly. Another slammed his staff. "This cannot be allowed. If he passes all the trials, the queen may choose him. That would break our traditions." But the law was clear: 3 trials must be faced. Tom had already passed 2. Only the final one remained. The council decided to make it the hardest, hoping to break him at last. The third trial was called the Trial of Unity. It was unlike the others. It was not about fighting a beast or solving a puzzle. It was about bringing peace where none existed. Nira explained it to Tom the night before in the palace garden. The glow of the crystal trees lit her face as she spoke softly. "There are 2 clans that live outside the capital. For generations, they have hated each other. The Trial of Unity demands that the one tested must enter their land and bring them to peace, even if only for a day. Many have tried. All have failed." Tom frowned. "So I'm supposed to do what your strongest leaders couldn't?" Nira's eyes held both worry and faith. The trial was designed to test more than strength. It tests the heart. The council believes you will fail. But I have seen the way you think, the way you speak. You may succeed where others cannot. Tom gave a tired smile. "Then I'll try. If nothing else, maybe they'll laugh at me before they throw me out." For the first time, Nero laughed softly. It was a sound few had ever heard from their queen. The next morning, Tom was taken to the borderlands where the two clans lived. Each clan had sharp weapons and angry eyes, their camps facing each other across a wide river. The hatred between them was so deep that even the air felt heavy. The council members watched from afar, expecting failure. Tom stood between the clans, his translator ready. He raised his voice. "I am not from here. I don't belong to either of you. But I came because I was told you would never stop fighting. So I have a question. Do you even remember why you fight?" The clans shouted back, voices filled with rage. One side claimed the other had stolen land. The other shouted about betrayal long ago. The anger was endless, stretching back to stories no one fully remembered. Tom listened. When they grew quiet, he spoke again. "On my world, we fight too. Sometimes for land, sometimes for pride. But often, we forget what we lose while we fight. Families suffer. Children grow up in anger. The wounds never heal. You think you are protecting your honor, but really you are only passing pain to the next generation." Some scoffed. Others looked uncertain. Tom walked to the river, picked up a stone, and threw it across. It landed in the water with a splash. "You see this? The river does not care who throws the stone. It carries it away, always moving forward. If the river can let go, why can't you?" There was silence. For the first time, both clans listened without shouting. His words were strange, but they touched something in them. After hours of talking, Tom proposed a simple idea. One night. Share food together by the fire. You don't have to forgive everything, but you can start by listening. If it fails, you can go back to fighting tomorrow. But give it one chance tonight. It was a small step, but somehow, it worked. That evening, both clans sat by a single fire, eating in silence at first, then slowly speaking. The anger did not vanish, but for the first time in generations, there was no war between them. From afar, the council stared in disbelief. The impossible had happened. When Tom returned to the capital, the people cheered. Many bowed as he passed, something never done for an outsider. To them, he had shown not only courage but wisdom. Nero met him in the throne hall, her eyes shining brighter than ever. "You have done what none of my own people could. You brought peace, even for a day. The council cannot deny your success." Tom gave a tired laugh. "I don't know if it was peace or just a break from fighting. But maybe a break is all it takes to start something new." The queen stepped closer. Her voice was soft, almost personal. "You have shown me more than strength. You have shown me hope." The council, however, was furious. Behind their polite words, their anger grew. They had wanted Tom broken, but instead, he was becoming a symbol. Whispers spread among the people that maybe the queen's future did not lie with tradition, but with the human who had passed every trial. That night, Nera stood on her balcony, looking at the stars. Tom joined her quietly. They did not speak for a while. The silence was not heavy, it was calm. At last, Nera said, "You have changed everything." Tom looked at the sky with her. Maybe not everything. But maybe just enough. Neither of them knew what would come next. But both felt that their paths were now tied together, not by chance, but by something greater. The council chamber was darker than usual. The crystal walls, normally bright, glowed only faintly as the elders gathered in secret. Their voices were sharp with anger. "The people begin to cheer for the human," one hissed. "They see him as a hero," another added bitterly. "If this continues, the queen may choose him," the eldest elder warned. "And if she does, our traditions will shatter." They could not allow that. For generations, the council had held power by guarding the old ways. A human made for their queen would make them look weak. Worse, it would change the path of Varkan forever. So they made a plan. They would not let Tom rise any higher. If the trials could not break him, then betrayal would. The next day, Nero welcomed Tom into the council chamber. The room was full of whispers. The people had been allowed to watch from the gallery above, curious to see what decision would be made now that the trials were complete. Nero's voice was clear. This human has passed every test. He has shown courage, wisdom, and heart. No one can deny this truth. The crowd nodded, some even cheering. Tom stood beside her, uneasy but proud. But the eldest elder struck the floor with his staff. He has passed nothing. The trials were too simple for him. Perhaps he cheated. Perhaps he used tricks we do not understand. He cannot be trusted. Gasps filled the hall. Tom's hands tightened, but he stayed calm. I cheated nothing. I used only what I know: patience, thought, and a little luck. The elder sneered. Then let us test him once more. A final task. Not of mind or speech, but of true strength. Alone, without the queen's protection. Nero's eyes flashed with anger. Enough. He has proven himself. But the council pressed on. If he refuses, it proves his weakness. If he fails, it proves he is unworthy. Let the people see his true nature. The crowd murmured, torn between the queen's words and the council's demands. Tom felt all eyes on him. Slowly, he spoke. I have never claimed to be the strongest. I cannot match your warriors in power. But if another test is what it takes to prove my honesty, then I will face it. The hall erupted with noise. Nero turned to him, her voice low and sharp. You should not agree. They are trying to destroy you. Tom gave a small smile. Maybe. But if I walk away now, they win. At least this way, I still stand beside you. Her eyes softened. For a moment, the weight of duty slipped, and she looked at him not as a queen but as a woman who finally found someone who understood. The final test was set for the next day. Tom was led to the arena, a wide circle of stone surrounded by thousands of watching eyes. The council sat high above, pleased with themselves. Nero sat at the front, her hands gripping the arm of her throne tightly. From the gates opposite Tom, a great beast was released. It was taller than 3 men, with dark scales and eyes burning like fire. Its roar shook the air. Tom's heart pounded. He had faced danger before, but never something like this. He held only a simple spear, while the beast's claws could crush stone. The crowd held its breath. The council smiled cruelly. They were sure this would be the end of the human. The beast charged. Tom dodged quickly, rolling to the side. He knew he could not fight with strength. He had to use his mind. He remembered the forest trial. The beasts there had chased movement but were clumsy. This one was faster, but its size made it heavy. Tom began to move in circles, forcing the beast to turn again and again. Its roars grew frustrated. He jabbed with the spear, not to kill, but to distract. He lured it toward the arena wall, where the ground was uneven. At the last second, he dove aside. The beast stumbled, crashing into the stone. The crowd gasped. Tom climbed quickly, grabbing a chain that hung from above. As the beast turned, he swung the chain around its neck, pulling with all his strength. The beast thrashed, but Tom held on, using the wall for leverage. At last, the creature collapsed, exhausted. The arena fell silent. Then cheers erupted from the people. High above, the council's smiles faded. Their plan had failed again. The human had not only survived, he had won. And worse, the people now saw him as a true warrior. Nero rose to her feet. Her voice carried across the arena. You see now? This human is not weak. He is not unworthy. He has faced every challenge and has stood where others would fall. The people shouted in agreement, chanting Tom's name. But in the shadows, the council whispered. They could not openly fight the queen, but their anger grew sharper. They would not stop until the human was gone. That evening, Tom stood on the balcony once more, the twin suns sinking into the horizon. Nira joined him, her expression softer than it had ever been. You risked everything today, she said quietly. Tom smiled faintly. I just didn't want to give them the satisfaction. She looked at him for a long time. You have given me something I thought I had lost long ago. What's that? He asked. Hope, she whispered. The stars glimmered above them. The council was plotting in the dark, but at that moment, queen and human stood side by side, their bond stronger than any trial. The palace of Varkan was filled with voices. News of the arena had spread across the land. The human had faced the beast and survived. Many now spoke of him with respect. Some even whispered that he might be the one the queen would choose. In the council chamber, however, the mood was dark. The elders sat in shadows, their faces twisted with anger. He wins the people's trust, one hissed. He wins the queen's trust, another growled. If she chooses him, everything we built will fall. We will lose our power. The eldest elder struck his staff against the floor. Then we must move before she speaks her choice. If the queen chooses the human openly, the people will follow her. But if we strike first, we can turn them against her. The next day, Nira called for a gathering in the crystal square of the capital. Thousands of citizens filled the space, waiting to hear her words. Tom stood near her side, uncertain but ready. The air was tense as Nira stepped forward. Her voice rang clear across the crowd. My people, for many days I have listened to the council. For many days, I have tested and watched. Our law demands that I choose a mate before the next moons align. Without one, our race faces its end. The crowd fell silent, every ear waiting for the decision. Nero lifted her chin, her glowing eyes steady. I have seen strength in many. But strength alone is not enough. A mate must bring wisdom, courage, and heart. A mate must be willing to stand not above me, but beside me. Her voice grew stronger. I choose the human, Tom. The square erupted. Some cheered loudly, shouting Tom's name. Others gasped in shock, unsure how to accept such a break from tradition. Tom's chest tightened. He had not expected her to speak so boldly. He turned to her, and she met his eyes. For a brief moment, the weight of the world around them disappeared. They stood as two souls who had chosen each other. But the council would not allow it. The eldest elder stepped forward, his voice sharp and angry. This is madness. A human cannot lead Varkan. He is an outsider, a trickster, and you have been blinded by him. The crowd shifted uneasily. Nira's gaze hardened. The trials were clear. He passed them all. The people saw it with their own eyes. Do you now deny the laws you swore to protect? The elder's voice grew louder. We swore to protect our world, not to bend it to a stranger's will. Before more could be said, Tom stepped forward. His voice was steady. I never asked to be chosen. I came here by chance. But I cannot ignore what I've seen. Your world is full of beauty, yet it is ruled by fear. You call me weak, but what have your own strongest leaders done? They let the clans fight for generations. They let corruption grow in your council halls. I may be human, but at least I stand with honesty. Gasps filled the air. Some of the citizens nodded, whispering to each other. The elders' faces turned pale. Tom's words had struck too close to the truth. Nira turned her eyes on the council. Is this what you fear? Not weakness, but the truth? You speak of protecting tradition, but what you protect is your own power. The eldest elder raised his staff, but his hand shook. The people began to murmur louder. Many were no longer looking at the council with respect, but with suspicion. One young guard suddenly stepped forward. His voice rang out. "I saw it myself." The elders tried to make the final trial impossible. They wanted the human to die. That is not protection. That is betrayal. The square exploded with shouts. More guards spoke, revealing what they had witnessed: secret plans, false orders, and the council's hidden schemes. The truth spilled out like water from a broken jar. The elders tried to silence them, but the people no longer obeyed. The guards turned their backs on the council and stood with their queen. Nira's voice rose above the chaos. "The time of fear is over. My choice is made, and the corruption of the council is revealed. From this day forward, Varkan will not be ruled by lies, but by unity. Tom is my mate, and together we will lead our people into a new age." The people roared with approval. Even those who doubted could not deny the queen's strength or the human's courage. The council, broken and exposed, could do nothing but lower their heads. Tom stood at Nira's side, still catching his breath. "You know this won't be easy," he whispered. Nira looked at him, her eyes calm but shining. "Nothing worth saving is ever easy. But I will not face it alone anymore." The crowd's cheers rose higher, echoing across the crystal towers. For the first time in many years, the people of Varkan felt hope rising again. That night, the palace glowed brighter than ever before. Nira and Tom stood on the balcony, looking at the stars. The old ways had been broken. A new path had begun. Nira spoke softly. "The future will test us both. But together, we are stronger." Tom nodded. "Then let's face it together." And under the twin moons of Varkan, queen and human stood side by side, ready to lead a world into a new dawn. The city of Varkan was alive with change. The people had seen their queen choose not only a mate but a partner, someone from another world who had proven his courage, wisdom, and heart. Tom, the human, walked beside Nira through the streets, still feeling slightly out of place among the alien architecture, but welcomed everywhere he went. The citizens stared in wonder, but their fear had begun to fade. Children waved to him from the towers. Traders bowed with respect. Even those who had doubted him before now watched closely, realizing that change could be good. Nira's eyes shone with pride and determination. "We have work to do," she said. "Our people need more than a ruler. They need hope, trust, and a future." Tom nodded. "Then let's start. Step by step." The first task was rebuilding the city's bridges. Many had been damaged during years of neglect and constant fear of war. Engineers and workers from both clans, now united, worked together. Tom helped, not by showing strength, but by observing, suggesting ways to use the tools they had more efficiently. His ideas were simple, yet effective. Nira moved among her people, speaking to workers, calming fears, and giving encouragement. The queen's presence was strong, yet gentle. With Tom at her side, she could be both a leader and a partner. The council, once corrupt and secretive, had been replaced by leaders chosen for wisdom and honesty. Meetings were open, decisions were shared, and the people began to participate more in their government. Evenings were spent planning schools, marketplaces, and medical centers. Tom introduced ideas from his own world, ways to grow food faster, ways to build safer homes, and ways to teach children about both human and alien knowledge. Nira embraced the ideas, blending them with Varkan's traditions. "Your people learn quickly," Tom said one evening, watching children solve puzzles and build small machines. "They have always been clever," Nira replied. "They just needed someone to show them a different way." Tom smiled. "Then we are learning together." Weeks passed, and Varkan began to change. The rivers sparkled cleaner, the streets were full of life, and the twin moons shone brighter against the newly polished crystal towers. Even the forests, once feared and avoided, were becoming places of study and exploration. One day, Nira took Tom to the balcony of the palace, looking over the city. "Do you see?" she asked. "Our people are not only surviving, they are thriving. They are learning to trust themselves, to trust each other, and to trust that the future can be better." Tom looked at the scene below. Children laughed and ran through the streets. Families shared meals in the open air. Traders moved freely without fear. He realized that all the trials, all the challenges, had led to this moment not just for him, or for Nira, but for everyone. "I have never imagined a place could change so quickly," Tom said softly. "It is not the place that changes alone," Nira replied. "It is the people and the choice to believe in something better." Together, they began to explore the farther reaches of Varkan. They visited villages in the mountains and along the rivers, meeting citizens who had once been afraid of the Queen's power or the humans' presence. Each visit strengthened bonds, creating trust and understanding between humans and aliens alike. Tom was often amazed at the alien culture, its beauty, its history, its rituals, but he also shared stories of his own world. Nero listened and learned, fascinated by the courage and curiosity of humans. Slowly, the two species began to blend traditions, combining the wisdom of the past with the creativity of the future. One evening, as the twin moons rose high in the sky, Nira and Tom stood on a hill overlooking the capital. The city shimmered like a jewel in the moonlight. The people were safe, united, and full of hope. "Do you ever wonder what comes next?" Tom asked. "Every day," Nira said, taking his hand. "But now, I no longer feel alone. Together, we can face anything. Together, we can guide Varkan into a new era." Tom squeezed her hand gently. "Then we will. One step at a time." Below them, the citizens cheered. Not for a queen or a human alone, but for the promise of unity, strength, and courage. Nira and Tom looked up at the stars, knowing that Varkan's future was no longer limited by fear, tradition, or isolation. They had chosen each other, and in doing so, had chosen hope for all. The story of the human and the alien queen became a tale of legend. It was told for generations as a reminder that courage, trust, and partnership could change the fate of a world. Humans and aliens learned to work together, celebrate each other's strengths, and face the unknown with confidence. In the end, Varkan thrived. Nira and Tom stood as symbols of unity, showing that differences were not weaknesses, but opportunities for greatness. And under the twin moons and glittering stars, they faced the future side by side, ready for whatever new adventures awaited.